Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight podcast, where we review in excruciating detail Nicolas Cage movies and try and let you know up front whether you should watch them or just listen to us tell you about them. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and this is a very special episode. We have a guest host joining us. So, Rich, Ryan, and Whack, how are we feeling?
Ryan,
I'm
you go
feeling the
first.
blood of Christ.
I just feel bad. I just got done Jesus Camp like an hour ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
that'll
feel
do
bad
it.
movie.
Yeah, I watched Jesus Camp last night, so I got away from that movie really does fuck your head up. It was not a good situation. But I'm feeling good. Happy to be joining the Cage Fight gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. So Whack Nicholson is our guest. If you are chronically online, a fan of movie trivia, you might recognize the name. But he has joined us for an excruciating Nick Cage film, one of the worst. Our regular listeners.
I will say, because we talked about it in the DMs. I'm gonna take full responsibility. You said if we do Left Behind, I would want to watch Jesus Camp as well, and I was like, cool, I will do it tomorrow. And you were like, chill out, man.
No, again, I've been waiting to spring this on my co-hosts. So this was the perfect opportunity, and we need the emotional and moral support to get through it.
Yeah, we were supposed to do Leaving Las Vegas.
Yes,
What a
Yeah,
stark difference.
I watched it twice already.
I watched it 6 times. That movie fucks.
It's
When
the
I was
feel-bad
still-
movie of the bummer.
When I was still doing Nick Cage podcasting, we hadn't gotten to that one, and we were nervous that it was going to be too sad. But I'm hearing that I was wrong about that. Oh, it is sad.
It is incredibly
it's very sad, but it's
Incredibly
an incredibly
sad.
good film.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what got our boy the Oscar nod.
Yeah.
Um,
You think I don't know that? I'm aware.
So our regular listeners will know that the movie that's traumatized me most that we've covered so far was Next, but I think we have a winner in Left Behind. Left Behind is the movie we're covering, a 2014 film rated PG-13, clocking in at an ungodly hour and 50 minutes, and is absurdly ranked 4.5 stars on Amazon Prime, which is just flat out criminal. I was surprised by that.
4.5 out of 5.
Out of 5, yes.
That's churches. That's churches doing that.
It's
1,000%.
Yeah.
gotta be.
That's people
Um,
that were in the movie making reviews for it.
No, I don't think Leah Thompson is proud of this one. That's why she was only in like 90 seconds of it.
Yeah. She's not even in a scene with her movie husband, Nick Cage.
Yeah, she got raptured immediately.
So the other thing that's kind of important to note up front about this film, because it's very different than other films that we've watched, is this film specifically is part of a much larger push to proselytize very specifically. So this is essentially the first time we are dissecting a work of what I would call religious propaganda. So there's going to be some differences. I did my homework very seriously on this one, and you'll notice that in the upcoming housekeeping section. So let's get right into it. So first up with director, we have a Vic Armstrong, who has done a number of things. This guy actually looks like an industry professional that they went with. He directed Joshua Tree, Young Indiana Jones, a movie called A Sunday Horse, but was also primarily a stunt guy with over 125 jobs, including working on I Am Legend, Die Another Day, the 2011 Green Hornet, and Mission Impossible 3.
The funniest one for me is he's in Never Say Never Again, the James Bond movie that's not made by Ion. And he's the guy that rides the horse off the cliff into the ocean.
But it's also weird. We've watched Nick Cage movies where it's been directed by stunt guys and they're very stunt heavy. This movie, like, no stunts.
None.
They exploded a couple of things. It looked like they had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, they exploded a few things, but like they didn't like have any like real ass stunts. It wasn't Primal.
No, there was one very good stunt that took me way by surprise early on,
Is it the plane?
where the plane, yeah, where she jumps over her own car out of the way of the
Yeah.
plane.
Yeah, yeah,
That was
okay.
edited perfectly. It was done perfectly. That was a great piece of filmmaking.
Yeah,
It
but that
was,
was
yeah.
one stunt. It wasn't like
It
what
was
the-
exactly 2 seconds long.
it was Primal and I can see
Jujitsu.
what was the
Jujitsu was
other
the other one that was
Jujitsu.
directed
Okay,
by a
so
stunt
I was
guy.
going to compare this to jujitsu. We did cover jujitsu on my other show, and I liked the fight, like the fight choreography in jujitsu was awesome.
It's the camera
And
work that's bad.
yeah. That movie had potential. I actually kind of felt that way about this one too, that like it could have been okay if it wasn't so Christian.
Yeah, I honestly, they could have even played the Christian angle and just let go of some of their obvious issues, and it
Yeah.
could have been intriguing. Um, but also Ryan Outcast was a stunt.
Oh,
Outcast
yeah.
was the one I was thinking of. I'm like the
Yep.
fucking Star Wars one.
Yep.
Yeah, the one with Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the director is the only primary person that I was able to find that didn't look like a true believer. Because now we move on to the writers. So this is adapted from a book. So these two guys I'm about to mention adapted the book for the screenplay. So the first one is Paul Lalonde, who wrote most or all of the Kirk Cameron Left Behind movies. Uh, Other movies with titles like Mark of the Beast, Tribulation, Revelation. He actually started the production company that put this film out, and it's exclusively Christian apocalypse films.
Wow, he
So,
found his niche.
Yeah. And then the next up, we have John Pattis, who did Kirk Cameron's Left Behind 2 and 3, the Mark of the Beast 1 and 2, Saul, The Journey to Damascus, the Apostle Peter, Redemption, another true believer, it looks like.
Some of those are bangers, by the way. I know I made a joke earlier about having seen a lot of Christian movies, but a couple of those bang.
Which ones?
Yeah,
I
I'm
need to know
curious.
at this point.
Go through the list again. One of them stood out to me.
So there's the Mark of the Beast 1 and 2, Saul, The Journey to Damascus.
That one, the Saul Journey to
Okay.
Damascus. I saw that. I had fun with that one.
And then I do like the Apostle Peter, Redemption.
Saul Journey to Damascus came out in 2014, same year this movie came out.
Oh, good Lord. So they were just stretched thin is what was happening. And then we get to the most controversial figure in housekeeping, and that's Tim LaHaye. So if you weren't familiar with the Left Behind books as a kid, I have actually some practical experience in this realm due to weird familial ties and a just bizarre choice on my dad's part to bring me up in the Catholic Church, but then send me to a fundamentalist Calvinist private Christian school for a number of years. And then my grandma was one of those super church evangelicals. So I got it on all sides. But the Left Behind books were
So you saw real quick.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I was just the difference between Catholicism and this sort of evangelical bent of the doomsday cultness of it all just doesn't exist in Catholicism in the same way.
I prefer Catholicism.
That's a weird sentence.
I know. You come to some stark realizations when you start laying these things out side by side. So the books credit two authors, Tim LaHaye and a Jerry B. Jenkins. And Tim LaHaye was the creative force behind it, but not so much the writing, as far as I was able to tell. Jerry B. Jenkins was a former sports writer, and Tim LaHaye was a fucking crazy person.
So like Tim LaHaye was basically the dude who was like getting stoned. It was just like, it'd be wild if the
never
apocalypse...
been stoned in his life.
Yeah,
if
the
the
way that
apocalypse
man has
happened on a
ever even
plane.
seen marijuana.
So so here we go. Tim LaHaye is the founder of the Council for National Policy, which is a huge conservative advocacy group that was created during the Reagan years and persists to today. They have a history of strict secrecy as far as members are concerned, for a lot of reasons, because again, they're one of those very bad theocratic push conservative advocacy groups. A lot of money involved with it, as well as a lot of like sitting senators and shit. Not great.
I'm looking up Tim LaHaye on Conservapedia.
There you go. The only fun fact I have is that he pastored in a place called Pumpkin Town, South Carolina. I just love the name of that town. That's kind of awesome. Unfortunately, they gave us Tim LaHaye. He supported Jerry Falwell and was actually the one who pushed Falwell to create the Moral Majority, which is
man.
another advocacy group, and was a board member.
Rest in piss, Falwell.
Yep.
Well, and LaHaye too. Also,
Yeah.
Yep.
he is also no longer with us.
Okay,
Thank
cool. Rest
God.
in piss to both of you.
Had ties to the John Birch Society, up to and
Mhm.
including speaking at training sessions.
Sheesh.
And this one I had to dig a little bit on because the first source I found was an old blog, courtesy of the Wayback Machine, but Rolling Stone actually covered it in an article. So yeah, not questionable, definite ties to the John Birch Society, which if you don't know about them, have a fun time on Wikipedia. Or a bad time.
Oh, he went to Bob Jones University.
Bob Jones University, absolutely.
All the
he
killers
did.
are out with this one. That's awesome. Everybody
Also-
got their hands in it.
Just real quick, the Wikipedia on this guy is like a fucking novel. The Conservapedia is 3 paragraphs. They're so lazy.
They move in shadows, man. They don't want you to hear some of this shit for sure. He also founded the Coalition for Religious Freedom and was involved in the founding of the American Coalition for Traditional Values.
Are people allowed to practice their religions freely yet in America? Has that happened?
No.
Also was essentially the face of evangelical support of George W. Bush, which should surprise nobody. And then another fun fact, he was a big, strong believer in the Illuminati. So this guy is white collar Alex Jones, basically, or was. And definitely moved in some big fucking circles and was an absolutely insane person. Oh, and by the way, the entire inspiration for the Left Behind series was he got on a plane once and thought, what happens to everybody on the plane if the pilot gets raptured? And he had this thought because he saw the pilot flirting with a stewardess or something like that. So he's like, what would happen to a plane if people got raptured? And that was the idea.
Yeah, so clearly that pilot was a bad person.
If that was the way I got that idea, I would not admit it, because that's the first question everybody has when they hear about the rapture is like, what about the planes and the cars? What about all the planes and the cars? What happens then? Nobody hears, hey, one day all of the good Christians are going to be drawn up to heaven, and then immediately is like, sick, I better be a Christian. They're like, what about all the planes and the cars and the spaceships and the satellites and stuff? What happens to that stuff?
It's
That's
the
the first
start of
question
the
you
bad
think
times.
of. Yeah.
It's just a bunch of 9/11s.
Yeah.
So yeah. So now
Kind of
we
played for laughs in this movie too.
It was
So- a
totally
bunch of-
played for laughs.
Uh-huh.
When the balloons go off and all the little kids have disappeared, I couldn't stop laughing.
Dude, that was
She's hugging his clothes.
His clothes!
Dude. It's a gag.
that was the one part of the movie that was like actually enjoyable for me. That first scene in the mall, I was like, oh shit.
So
I mean,
here's
it's kind of mean, but when the Muslim guy kicks the little dude down the
Ah.
so here's the quick thing that I noticed almost immediately about this movie. Are they saying that every single child is a Christian? Because in Christianity, unless you are baptized, you are
Catholicism.
born with original sin.
Catholicism is the baptism thing. The evangelicals go about it a different way.
Yeah, but it's
Oh,
Catholicism
okay.
because it says it in the fucking Bible. And so these guys are like, the
These
Bible
guys are like, nah,
specifically
never
says
mind.
unbaptized babies don't go to heaven. It says that. And Catholics have canonized purgatory for unbaptized babies since the founding of the faith. But these dudes are they're just jazz soloing up there. They're just making shit up as they go along.
Oh,
because
they pick and choose, man.
because the Bible says that unbaptized babies don't go to heaven. So They won't get raptured. I'm sorry, dude, but you can't show that scene with like the empty NICU or whatever it was and be like, yeah, they're all the children are gone. And it's like, no, they're not, dude.
The implications of that scene when we get to it, I'm going to dive into it because that was specifically horrific in a way that I'm not sure non-Christian audiences would understand.
Okay, I'm excited to hear that. Yeah.
So the cast real quick. First up, man of the hour every hour, we got Nick Cage playing Rayford Steele. I'm upset they didn't use
That was
his
his
full
name?
first name.
Yeah.
It's Rayford Steele, but they call him Ray the whole movie. It's very disappointing.
And I will throw my little tidbit out here. The only reason Cage got cast in this movie is because his brother Mark the Cope Coppola, a shock jock and pastor, asked him to.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Two wild things about this character too. So as I was like looking into it, they created a new calendar for these books. Years
Oh, like the
before
French
Rapture.
Revolution?
Yeah, so he was born in 42 YBR, years before Rapture.
Oh, so he wasn't born in 72 Thermidor?
Correct. Also, in later movies, he was portrayed by Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, the sequel that they crowdfunded after this.
Yes.
Sorbo's got
Also,
his
that
finger in
is
so many
the-
pies.
That is that's the Star Wars calendar convention of before and after the Battle of Yavin. They took that from
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, again, remember they really can only consume their own media, so they gotta steal. They can steal the best parts. I don't know why they refuse to.
I was just talking to my brother about this. He said that his boyfriend comes from like a really Christian family. And he's like, we watched this with my brother, and my brother got pissed off because of the raptured baby thing. Not to bring it up again, but he thought it wasn't biblically accurate. Even
We're
though
going to
it
have so
wasn't
many
Bible
thoughts
focused.
about this. I cannot wait.
All right, so some of the people that or one of the people that it's insane that they signed on for this film, we have Leah Thompson as Irene Steele, who was in Back to the Futures 1 through 3, Red Dawn, Howard the Duck,
She
Beverly
fucks a duck in that
Hillbillies,
one.
Little Rascals. I mean, come on, they should have left her alone. It was terrible for my childhood there. We have Cassie Thompson as Chloe Steele. She's done a lot of TV, hit some of the high notes. She was in ER, House, NCIS. More recently, and ironically, Lucifer, which is hilarious. She was in one of the director's former films, A Sunday Horse, and she was also in Grave Halloween and The Last Bit.
I've seen A Sunday Horse as well.
Oh, okay.
Which is what I recognized her from. I like when I watch. So normally the reason I watch a lot of these movies is because I like the Hallmark Christmas movies, and these are basically the same as Hallmark Christmas movies. They're just easy to watch, and you don't really have to be paying that much attention. And then when it turns out that they're in love, it's like, yeah, obviously. And it's like when it turns out that one of them gets saved, it's like, yeah, of course, that's what's gonna always happen. And I've seen a couple of really. There's one horse course. I think it's called a Underground Horse Girl or something like that, but it's rocks. It's like a great film. The first one bangs. The second one bangs harder because they got more horses for the second one.
I mean, that's how you make a horse girl movie better. You add more horses.
Yeah.
Next up in the surprising column, we've got Chad Michael Murray as Buck Williams. Which is actually, that's what he's credited as, but his character's name is Cameron Williams, but his friends call him Buck. So he's Buck in all of my notes. Just
That's
as,
100% a
Cameron
poor
is
performer name.
his. Yeah, Cameron is no, but in it, Cameron is his professional name. That's what everybody knows him as. And he's like, my friends call me Buck. He is famous as Cameron, but his friends call him Buck.
And Chad Michael Murray was in One Tree Hill, Gilmore Girls, House of Wax, Freaky Friday. Is a known quantity. This one.
I just recently rewatched Gilmore Girls and was surprised how quickly he just dropped off of that show.
Yeah, he was just in the early. My wife had me watch Gilmore Girls. For
Yeah,
I
but
was
it
gonna
was
say
like-
there's no more married guy phrase than I just rewatched Gilmore Girls. Yeah, I bet you did, dude.
So
not married, proudly not married. Just watch
Damn,
the
all right.
Gilmore Girls.
Damn.
That show sucks. So
I would agree.
I will not be taking questions.
It's overwritten. That's my primary complaint. I get why people like it. It's just overwritten. Next up, we have, I put this person on there because I recognized some of their work, but I cannot place their character. Jordan Sparks as Shasta Carvel.
Wasn't she the?
She's on an American Idol.
Yeah,
No,
she's the season 6 winner.
She's the one whose baby disappears.
Right, I was gonna say she's the one
okay,
whose
yeah.
baby disappears, and then she.
Oh my god, I didn't even recognize that was her. She. I mean, I don't want to be rude, but she's kind of famous for being a little thicker than she was in this movie, and so I didn't really recognize her. But yeah, she does a pretty good job, I think, as like a freaking out woman who lost her baby.
She does. She does do a good job.
She does jump to the most insane assumption, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that's true. All right. It's an insane assumption, but it's the most logical one from her perspective.
And in defense of her, the other guy was like, maybe it was a wormhole in Aliens. So
that guy,
like,
isn't that a Stephen King book? Isn't that Tommy Knockers? Or no, Langoliers, I think, is the one where the plane goes through the wormhole and time stops.
it is.
Yeah,
It is Langoliers, but he's fucked around with wormholes on any number of occasions.
Yeah.
From a Buick 8 is a real good deep cut.
Oh, I
Stephen
love
King.
that one. That one's really heavily tied into the Dark Tower stuff, so I had to read it.
Also,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Wasn't Tommy Knockers Kuntz? Not
No, Tommy Knockers
is
the one that Stephen King forgot that he wrote because he was on so much cocaine.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
He forgot he wrote Tommy Knockers and Cujo, which Cujo's 200 pages, but Tommy Knockers like 700 pages. So the fact that
Tommy Knockers has all like the weird existential alien sex stuff.
I couldn't finish. I never finished Tommy Knockers.
It's incredibly bad. It's like his worst book.
Yeah, I remember reading it, and there's a scene early in the book where the guy is like, he crushes up a bunch of aspirin and then snorts it off of his dashboard. And then he's like, it must have been a 2-day bender because the sun's out. And then it turns out to be like a 6-day bender, and he lost like 6 days. And he's like, damn, that hasn't happened in a while. I was like, what do you mean a while? What do you mean that happens to you? This is not the first time you have lost 6 days, bro.
I'm not judgmental, but I think that person might have a problem.
I think
Imagine
if you're
being
a publisher, no, you take the aspirin because of the hangover, because you did too much cocaine and booze, so you snort the aspirin in order to feel better right away, and then you crush 2 in the back of your teeth so that they slow release.
I have never done that in my life, and I have done a copious amount of drugs.
This is what he puts into the book, and I'm like, if I'm his publisher, I'm like, bro, you gotta chill out, man. You can't be. This is arcane knowledge you were putting very casually into this book.
All right. So, lightning round on the remaining folks that we have. We have Quentin Aaron as Simon, who is in The Blind Side, Halfway, a lot of TV appearances. But
the big black guy, the assistant guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
And my favorite entry that I saw, he was in the a bad comedy parody of Paranormal Activity, a la Scary Movie. What's his name? The
Wayans brothers made, right?
I don't even know if it was theirs, because this was one of the ones where it's like, this Scary Movies at least made it to theaters. This was one I'm not even sure had an actual theatrical release.
I know which one you're talking about. Wayans brothers, Paranormal Activity.
It had
Kevin P. Farley as the director.
Haunted House.
Oh no, I found it's Paranormal Movie is the one that Josh is talking about.
Oh, I was thinking of A Haunted House, the one with the Wayans brothers and Cedric the Entertainer.
Oh, this was directed by Kevin Farley, Chris Farley's worst brother.
Oh, sad.
And then we have Martin Kleba as Melvin Weir, who is in Cradle to Grave. He was in Pirates of the Caribbean, Van Helsing, Hancock. And then last up on my list, we have Han Soto as Edwin, who's primarily been a background character in a bunch of stuff, but Cobra Kai, Logan, Fantastic Four, the 2015 one, and Ender's Game.
He's also the pilot of the Millennium Falcon, right?
Yes, Han Soto, absolutely.
And for anybody else curious, Martin Kleba also played the super short janitor and the ninja that would constantly punch JD in the dick in the show Scrubs.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
He's a little person actor who gets a lot of fucking work, like that, like Peter Dinklage or
yeah,
they're like a group of guys that. Yeah.
He would just
Vern
pop out of
Troyer.
nowhere and just punch people in the dick in Scrubs.
Yeah. Good gag.
That
Yeah, it
is
was
a
a great
pretty good gag.
So now, unfortunately, we have to get into the plot of this movie.
No, we don't. No, we
Uh,
don't.
I'm
We
not
have
sure. I'm not sure
choices.
that we have to.
It's our mission statement. We have to. So
Let's just talk about Martin Kleba for the next hour.
I mean, he was
Well-
in 2 of the Feast sequels. Those movies are fun.
So we open on an airport, and this is when Chloe, the daughter of the Steele family, is arriving and talking on the phone with her mom, Irene, Leah Thompson's character, and they're planning their dad's birthday party. But unfortunately, he got called into work. He's a pilot. So Chloe settles in to like wait. She's like, well, he's definitely going to come here to the airport for work. I want to see him because that's the whole reason why she came home. And then we get to meet Buck, who is being pestered by an evangelical who recognizes him for his investigative journalist work. And she's asking him, I can't even remember what religious themed questions she's asking him, but it's basically like all of these like earthquakes and tsunamis, like that's about the Bible and the apocalypse, right? And he's like, I just think it's people suffering for the most part, but you might be right. But Chloe gets really offended, steps in, and says something to the lady, and this sort of sparks a bit of a conversation between Chloe and Mr. Williams, the journalist.
This also sets the stage for a recurring thing in this movie where all of the really heavy Christians are the most annoying people and written that way. And I don't know what they were actually going for here.
I can tell you exactly what they're going for because this is part of the mindset. I've been racking my brain since we knew we were going to be doing this film and Jesus Camp afterwards to try and get more into the mind and draw on my experience. The Christian element that is obsessed with the rapture and the apocalypse and all that stuff happening and the end being near, all like the kingdom coming within their lifetime. It's the ultimate I told you so. They're obsessed with the I told you so moment. But here's the thing. If they're right and that moment comes, they can't go, I told you so to everybody. So their media,
so
yeah, their media is about, like imagine how shitty and dumb all those people are gonna feel for calling us crazy for all those years afterwards. Here's a fucking movie about it.
Did you guys listen to the song that played over the credits?
Not very closely.
The chorus was just like, if only we had been more prepared. It's like literally like, we told you.
Wait, so is this like the movie equivalent of like you're in the shower and you're like trying to picture what you're going to argue with someone about?
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the worst endpoint from those moments in the shower where you're like,
shower
that,
argument, the movie.
Yep. Absolutely.
But also, pairing this with Jesus Camp, like that crazy lady at the beginning who gets called a crazy lady by the main character, she is basically doing what the little girl does at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
She is evangelizing in a way that she feels is appropriate that no normal person would ever think of as appropriate.
It's a mandate for them.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less structured than I guess like Mormon missionary work where it's involuntary and required. But it is a mandate in these evangelical circles to proselytize. It's part of their mission statement. It's what they have to do or what they feel compelled to do.
Kind of fucked up as
evangelicals.
Yeah. Kind of fucked up that evangelicals take that L from Mormons, making the Mormons look like the cool guys in the situations.
Well,
you look like a pussy next to the Mormons who go door to door.
At least Mormons have those fake gold tablets they can talk about. That's cooler than anything any evangelical ever has said to me.
I mean, at the very least, the Mormons have structure to it. But then again, the evangelicals technically have more political power outside of one specific state. So who's to say? So Chloe is set up essentially as the anti-Christian element, the one who's got to have or one of the characters who has to have a come to Jesus moment, which was a theme I thought they were going to be playing more heavily into. They don't in this film. And at this point, while Chloe is having a talk with Buck, this is when we cut to Rayford, Ray for the rest of the film, unfortunately, shows up for work, takes off his wedding ring and puts it in his car, and then walks into the airport with an attractive blonde stewardess that he is clearly flirting with. So, in fact, when he's coming up the escalator, like she has his pilot's hat on.
I was gonna say that moment, that's Cage right there. That's a pure Cage thing of she has the hat on and he like sort of sneaks it away from her when he sees his daughter. That's a Cage onset at improv. I'm 1,000% sure.
So
yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. That reeks of a Cage ad lib.
Here's the thing: Cage showed up to work on this one. I don't have a problem with his acting in really any of this.
It's because it was a favor to his brother. He loves his brother.
I have a problem with the writing and the message and kind of the rest of it, but no, Cage is taking this seriously.
I mean, in fairness, he took Knowing seriously,
which is another movie about the rapture. If you haven't seen
Have you guys found movies you felt like Cage wasn't taking it seriously? I feel
not a one. Not a one.
I was gonna say
he was trying in G-Force.
Christmas Carol, he's kind of phoning it in
Christmas
that one.
Carol, he's phoning it in.
No, he's doing a little bit of an accent. He's got a little bit of a
okay.
English
You know what?
twang.
You're right. He is the only one trying in Christmas
and you
Carol.
you gotta remember the wig work's a big part of what he does. How's the wig? I haven't seen Christmas Carol. How's the wig in Christmas Carol?
It's animated. It's animated by
animated.
one of the guys who worked on the Heavy Metal movie, and it's not good, which is wild to me.
Yeah, we had high hopes, and it did not pan out.
Yeah.
But there are performances of his where you can tell he's phoning it in a little bit. He's a good actor, so you do have to see when he's like having a really good time with a film, like Vampire's Kiss, comparative to something he took when he was having his tax problems. So
yeah. Magician's Apprentice.
Yeah, although we had a lot of fun.
We actually liked that one.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I just I don't know. Like I'm thinking of like because we brought it up earlier. Jiu-Jitsu is like that's like a he's in it for like 15 minutes and he really gives his fucking all for that 15 minutes.
He chooses as much scenery as he possibly can in those 13 minutes.
Yeah,
it was the same thing in Outcast. He played it insane. He was playing a kind of crazy character, but he hammed it up.
Yeah,
it was great. Listen, those straight to DVD movies, like he really goes balls out.
I think Outcast got a theatrical release. Between Worlds was straight to streaming or DVD or what have you.
Between Worlds was the best movie we discovered through doing this podcast.
Might be the best movie I've ever seen.
It's really good.
Listen, I'm still going Kill Chain, but I know that's a me thing. I fucking love that movie.
No, Kill Chain was really good. Unfortunately, in this movie. So Chloe sees her dad coming up and sees him sort of flirting with the stewardess, and she's pissed off, and they sit down and have a conversation. And then we get the background of where Chloe's anti Christian thing comes from, and it turns out that Irene, her mom, got heavy into this stuff in recently, in like the last year or two. And it's really driven a wedge into the family because Irene will just not shut the fuck up about being ready for the end times and the rapture and shit. And Chloe blames the chilling of the relationship between Ray and Irene on that fact. And Ray kind of confirms it. He's like, look, she got into this recently. Maybe she'll get out of it. We're still a family, blah, blah, blah. Also, I'm sorry you're home while I'm doing a flight to London, but I got called in. It couldn't be helped. She calls him out on not having his wedding ring on. He says he never wears it when he flies. And we do get a fun line here where he says, hey, look, if she's going to run off with another man, why not Jesus? Which I like that one.
That's like a pure like Christian movie line too.
Yeah, it's very
100%.
cute, very quaint.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, going back to like the Christmas movies, like you can just replace Jesus with Santa and it would make sense.
I had my coming to Santa moment.
I've seen enough movies where people have a come to Santa moment. I don't know what's so funny about that.
Santa Claus, a very famous one.
I mean, that
a
is
bunch
one
of
of them.
people.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, Ray goes to get settled in onto his flight. But unfortunately, the timing is terrible. Buck is also supposed to be on the flight with London, but he's spending some more time talking to Chloe. They had a meet cute, and there's clearly some chemistry there, which over the course of the rest of the movie, whatever connection they had happened way too fast in the course of 5 minutes of screen time. But, that's how relationships work in Hollywood movies. So just roll with it. However, so somebody who works at the like a baggage handler like rolls up in his little golf cart and is like, Chloe, I got your dad those tickets he wanted. And his tickets to see U2 in London. And he casually drops that it took him like 2 weeks to get this together. So cat's out of the bag. Ray knew he wasn't going to be home on his birthday. He specifically was planning on not being home for his birthday. And then
a European U2 concert as a plot device was already used at this point in Taken. I just want to point out.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I didn't even clock that.
That's really funny.
Since we're talking about U2, I guess I'll repeat my favorite Roger Waters from Pink Floyd quote, where he said that if you know Bono, you should grab him by his ankles and shake him until he stops being such an enormous shit.
So I do have a question. Like, do you have to get permission or licensing to reference like a real band in a movie? Like, you're not using
I think that's fair use at that point.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Why is it always U2 then? Why do we have?
Because it's dad rock. Dads love U2.
Okay.
U2 crosses generations. That's true. Yeah. Like Zoomers will know who U2 is because they're playing at the Vegas Sphere. And then older people will have different associations with U2. They've been around long enough, and they are like political without being offensive. It's kind of like he's just really into like world peace as a abstract concept. So it's not the kind of thing that most people are going to argue with.
It's funny that you mentioned the generational gap because millennials will know U2 because they were forced to have a whole album on their phone. Like,
or
at the height of smartphones.
Or learning that 14 is the number 14 in Spanish.
And not 4 for some reason. Or that one South Park episode that everybody knows with
the
Bono.
South Park episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were born in 1989 to 1994, you have any number of touchstones for this man.
So Buck takes the tickets to deliver to Ray on the plane. And Chloe goes to take Ray's car to head home. I did have a moment when she got in the car and she like looked at his wedding ring. Do they make for those close-up shots? I'm assuming they do to make it easier to capture on film. Do they make those rings like gigantic?
I was thinking the same thing. That thing was fucking like a thumb ring or something.
It was.
They did in Lord of the Rings. I know they did it in Lord of the Rings for like a forced perspective thing.
Yeah.
But they made one like the size of a car tire. So that it would, yeah. But I don't know. I wasn't paying attention, so I don't have
the size of the ring in that scene. I was just like, Jesus Christ, that's a giant fucking ring.
I didn't even clock that. I was just like, it's a ring.
So
I thought it was an earring at first. That's how big it is, honestly.
Yeah, it was really big. So everybody's settling into their seats on the flight. We get introduced very briefly to Simon, Buck's seatmate. And it seemed like they knew each other, so I'm not sure if Simon like worked with Buck. But Simon specifically teases Buck about getting Chloe's number before they take off, and then we get we get the camera panning to clearly the supporting cast on this plane. Before takeoff, we have a businessman, a Muslim guy, somebody with dwarfism, several families. So they make sure to spotlight there's a couple of babies.
They spotlighted that hard as hell.
Any number of infants are on this flight to London, flying first class.
Flying first class, 8-hour flight, exactly where you want to be with a 9-month-old. Stuck in a metal tube.
And so, okay, so this is where the writing started to get to me, because all of the characters, all of the supporting characters are caricatures. We have Ray and Buck and Chloe, like the family, they're fleshed out to a certain extent. Everybody else is just one particular identity crux, and that is it. And it's done to it's really over the top, in my opinion. It got grating very quickly. And my favorite bit was the initial scene with Melvin, who is when the flight's getting ready to take off, he gets up to put his bag up. Melvin is the character with dwarfism, the actor with dwarfism as well, but the Muslim guy gets up and offers to help him, which offends Melvin. And then after that, the young girl sitting across the aisle from him goes to start talking to him. And he's like, what, do you want to ask me? No, she doesn't even say anything. She just looks at him. And he goes, what, do you want to ask me a question? Like how I drive a car or... Oh, right. I was going to finish my sentence.
I was going to let you finish your sentence.
You got to finish your sentence.
Okay. He's like, you know...
I was doing it to be prepared.
Gotcha. All right. So it's like, you know, you want to ask how I drive a car, how I do this, out of the other, how I reach a urinal. And the kid's just like, what's a urinal? And he's like, never mind. All right. Now we can have our moment of silence.
Hey, everyone. This is Rich from the future. This is where the ad break is. But before we play the ads, feel free to follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/NickCageFight. You get every episode without ads for $1, plus bonus episodes, including a bonus episode with today's guest, Whack, known on Twitter as Whack Nicholson. Please feel free to follow him. He is very good and funny, and we thank him so much for coming on to our lovely little podcast about Nick Cage movies. But here's some ads.
Was a moment of silence for all those raptured babies.
So I just want to.
I like the proud dwarf character. To me, is really crazy in this movie. The portrayal of the proud dwarf character who doesn't need any help and doesn't want anybody talking to him or whatever, because it is like a huge cliche of like bad movies, and also it's like nuts that he turns out to be racist like 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
He like totally flips it and becomes like a villain.
Yeah, like this movie feels like it should have been written in like 2004.
No, it feels like it should be written for the wrestling ring, honestly. Like most of these characters are written like heel wrestlers.
Yeah, they are. They are. The mom who points a gun at everybody.
But like that's all we get of the characters. It's so like one side, and there's not even that. Usually what you get is like a humanizing moment tossed somewhere in there, or like a snippet of backstory that you didn't know. But the dwarf character is just really mad at people asking him questions about being a dwarf, or insinuating it, or observing it, or anything. Also, he's racist.
And also a gambling addict.
Yeah. Well, that's a sure
I forgot
thing.
about that.
I don't even hold that one against him. That's just
No, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be like, wait, your dad is so and so? Like, yeah, let me play some
I've been to a
bets real
casino
quick.
with you, Rich.
Yeah, you have.
So what we're alluding to is the kid, the sweet child is talking to Melvin after he's calmed
and it's Jordan
down.
It's Jordan Sparks' daughter, which I just want to point out.
Oh.
Is that not her real daughter?
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, but she plays her daughter. And I just want to point out that like the only black characters in this movie either disappear due to rapture or are professional athletes or their relatives. That is the representation in this movie.
I mean, look, at least At least they got raptured. I mean, if this was a real racist movie, they would have been like, "Why weren't you raptured?" Oh, well, you see, I'm a blood.
That's well, so the Mormons might have gone that way.
I for sure thought the Muslim guy was going to be a terrorist incidentally. Like he would also be a terrorist in this movie. And that doesn't turn out to be the case, which is nice.
I think that's what they thought their fucking like twist was.
Yeah.
It was definitely a twist for them. It was a big reveal for them.
I haven't read the book, but I bet they were leading into that. I bet there was a lot of seeds planted for that, and then they tried to invert it.
I ordered the book.
Oh no!
Oh no! You know, there's
Just
like
the
8 of
first-
those.
It was
Okay.
used.
Yeah, just the first one or the entire thing.
Just the first one, but if I can find the entire thing used, I might just.
There are
plow
box
through
sets. They'll pop up at Goodwills and shit too.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out. I'm always at Goodwill's.
Same.
Go to one of the large evangelical churches by you. They might let you just have one for a quarter from the used bin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call too.
So also,
I didn't know there were
good
16 of
luck.
these fuckers.
Yeah.
I thought there was only like 10.
16.
There are 16.
No, it's a big ass.
There's like
damn.
8
Big ass
adult
collection.
ones, and then they did like a spin-off young adult series or some shit like that.
There's prequels and shit. Like this
Oh,
was
yeah.
the first one, and then like 10 years later, he's just like, "I'm gonna make some prequels."
And before we stray too far from like the racist character trope, they don't like these characters are named in the credits. They don't introduce themselves in most cases, and their names are never used.
They're
There's
basically
also,
not named. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also the Asian guy in First Class who is simultaneously a nerd and like a sci-fi buff.
Yeah, the
Like,
guy that thinks that
that's it.
everything's from Area 51.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
just
might
found
be my favorite character.
I just found something wild. There's a character in this movie that I didn't know this was his name. His name is Stan Marsh.
Huh.
Oh,
That
really?
has to be a reference, right? It has to.
It came out in 2014. That was like South
Yeah.
Park's 15th season. Like, that's
Yeah.
nuts.
I don't remember who Stan Marsh was, but he was a character.
Well, they probably never said his fucking name.
No, for sure. The YouTuber Renegade Cut, he has a great video on the Left Behind film series, the original ones. He touches on the Nick Cage
Yep.
one very briefly, but he does it's a 2-hour video. It's fucking good ass content. And he just breaks down the plot of like all of the Kirk Cameron Left Behind movies. And it's so much fun. And I will say, I feel like I thought this was going to be a bit more heat than it really was. Like the Kirk Cameron one, you get to meet the Antichrist.
Yeah,
You get to
Nicola
see-
Carpathia, I think is the name
Yeah,
of the character.
Yes, Nikolai Carpathia. You get to see him become the head of the UN. He gives everybody a barcode, and it's their mark of the beast and shit. It's
I
like
forgot about the
it's-
fucking barcode because I like
it's-
read the synopsis of all of these like 10 years ago.
it's way more pilled. It's way more fun. This movie is a coward. This movie was afraid to go there. And I think the best representation of this is, and I'm going to spoil a little bit going ahead, but I think the best representation of what a coward this movie is they introduce a gun in the first scene that never goes off.
Yeah.
The air marshal gets
Chekhov would
raptured,
never.
which obviously the air marshal gets raptured because obviously police officers all go to heaven. And then his gun gets used to take the plane hostage briefly until it is talked away from Jordan Sparks. And then nothing happens with the gun. Then it just never gets used. And when they were like, we need a bright beacon, we need to see something, I'm like, he's going to shoot through the front of the plane with a 9mm, like 8 miles away and hit his target.
So I think one of the reasons why they were more subdued with this is as close as they got to mainstream.
Yeah, this had like
the-
real funding.
The
It was
evangelical
in theaters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it cost $14 million to make.
How much did it make though?
Oh, sorry. It cost $16 million. It made 27.
Oh, that's more than I thought it would be.
Broke even on the marketing budget, probably. That's
Yeah, that's
Yeah. but so like I thought this was going to be the start, and they're like, we've got a fucking franchise here. You know what I mean?
Like the last line
Because
in the movie is, "This is only the beginning." So
oh,
Yeah.
I have a joke written for the end,
Okay.
specifically thinking about that. Anyway, but
You can cut it if it ruins your joke.
no,
it's not gonna.
It's,
I know what the
perfect.
joke is.
So, but no, because like the evangelical community and the media that they tend to consume is really insular.
Right.
A lot of homeschooling, a lot of we buy books, movies, and stuff, all from church. It's shit that never really breaks containment. This broke containment, and I think they were hoping for it to catch on. Because of course, if you're going to try and do that with some aspect of Christianity, the end of the world, that's your juiciest story. You know what I mean?
Is there maybe some reason that a story that tells pretty much everyone alive that they're all going to die in eternal hellfire didn't catch on with the general public? Do you think maybe there's like a specific reason people didn't want to fuck with this?
That might be a thing. Also, like even for Christianity, I know evangelicalism is big in the United States in general, but like it doesn't have the gravitas or the staying power of something like Catholicism. Like even the Methodists got it trumped, you know what I mean? So it's hard. They're trying to make their bones as an old religion with new ideas.
Yeah, the line is that the most churches think in terms of like quarterly earnings and stuff, and the Catholic Church thinks in terms of centuries. So it's
Yeah.
a very different sort of power dynamic.
Yeah, they're new money.
They are. You don't build a big fucking church where you're playing guitar if you're not new money. You know, they can smell it on your ass.
Oh, I might go back to church if the Pope ever learned guitar.
If any pope was gonna,
Yeah, fair.
This would be the one, absolutely.
He
So
just rips the November Rain guitar solo.
so this kindly child lets drop that, you know, their dad is the quarterback for the Jets and hurt his arm. So Melvin, of course, writes down to, as soon as he touches down, place a bet against the Jets in the next game, which is funny. And this
He couldn't keep that in his brain for 5 hours.
no, clearly not. I don't
the
know
quarterback of the
why.
Jets is going to be out for one game. I think I could probably have kept that together.
Yeah.
But he writes it down, and his seatmate is actually the air
Air
marshal.
Marshal, yeah.
Yeah, which is important just for a continuity thing. I'm gonna needle later in this film for no reason because there's no shortage of targets, but still. So we get to see Chloe again, who is at home. And she has a bit of an argument, a confrontation with Irene, talking about how she doesn't want to be lectured, this, that, and the other. And it ends poorly. And of course, in this scene, Irene is pictured or portrayed as being very reasonable, whereas Chloe is kind of portrayed as being combative for no immediately apparent reason, which is about what you would expect, I think. So Chloe needs to get out of the house to get away from her mom. And so when she goes to leave, her younger brother, Raimi, asks to go with her, and after a little bit of deliberating, Chloe agrees, right? So they get into the car and head out, and they go to the mall. This was when malls weren't dying. And we also just get one of my favorite scenes before my actual favorite scene.
Was it the
But
breakdancers?
the breakdancers, yeah. There's just a troop of breakdancers in the middle of the mall.
Just all of the white people clapping at the wrong beats.
They're just clapping slowly in unison, the entire crowd that's gathered around the breakdancers, and it's hilarious. And
I think that's a post-production fuck up. I think they were probably told to clap and they didn't have music playing during the scene while they were filming it.
They didn't have
I call that
breakdance.
a production fuck up. You got to
Yeah.
know that music's going to be playing. That's not post's fault. If the
Mhm.
music's not playing, whose fault is that? You know what I mean?
That's fair, yeah.
Also, they're not playing breakdancing music in that scene.
Play a fucking song that's 120 BPM. It's like 70% of songs. Just like, what are you doing?
But yeah, it was ridiculous and hilarious. It really cracked me up. And so Chloe gets distracted by the breakdancers and briefly loses track of Raimi before finding him watching, and this is such a sign of the times, being bedazzled, enthralled by somebody selling a drone at a mall kiosk.
For $200 in 2014, I don't know what kind of Chinese manufacturing chicanery was happening to make that drone cost $200, but there ain't no way.
Yeah, at the time and at that price point, they would never allow the buskers to fly those in the mall because they would take out the eyes of some small child.
That's true too.
It's absolutely insane. And so we get a brief flash back to Ray, who looks like he's second guessing cheating on his wife after he has a conversation with the hot stewardess about going to see U2. Like, you can just see it in Cage's face. He's like, God, I got Leah Thompson at home, and yeah, she's Bible crazy now, but am I really gonna do this? And then we get the scene in the movie, the best scene in the movie, and
it's all downhill from here.
It's perfect, and the timing is perfect as we're coming to the close of episode 1 of our review of this film. But we cut back to the mall, and Raimi and Chloe are sharing a hug over, what's going on with their family, and the rapture fucking happens. Now, nobody in the film is aware that the rapture happened, but Chloe is left hugging the clothes and backpack
It's so
of
good.
Raimi. It's fucking amazing.
And then my favorite shot, it cuts to a wide shot of the mall and you see a bunch of balloons disappear.
They really hammered home all of the kids. That's a get into heaven free pass. What they didn't answer, and I'm really curious about, is what's the age cutoff? Is it the same thing as the age for kids eat free at the buffet line? Is there a specific?
Yeah, because Raimi's like at least 9.
Yeah, that's true. He would not get a
He would not
pass
be
at the
free
buffet
at Golden Corral. No.
So what is it? What's the age?
It's roller coaster rules. It's a certain height.
I'm really concerned that it is puberty, and that really doesn't sit good with me. That doesn't sit good with me. That doesn't sit good with me at all.
That's awful, and I think you're probably right. Evangelicals.
I don't know what else it could be. Worse, it could be age of consent, and I don't really want to think about that.
Oh, that's terrible.
That would be foolish.
No, this is not a libertarian movie.
You don't know the mind of God. Don't tell me what kind of movie this is.
God respects the separation between state and federal laws when it comes to
I hope I give you a good flashback there, Josh, telling somebody you don't know the mind of God as I do something horrible. That's your
absolutely. God. But no, yeah. Now, unfortunately, I think you might be right with the potential about it being puberty, just because evangelicals don't have like that codified dogmatic moment of your maturity, right? Catholics,
you get saved when you're like 2 sometimes and stuff, right? Like, yeah.
Wouldn't evangelicals then be totally on board with puberty blockers? I mean, keep them kids pure.
I have a feeling.
Wow.
Actually, no, I know for sure they don't think that. But your logic is sound. I just don't think it comes.
I think you gotta, bro. We gotta get you on a pulpit, Rich. We gotta get your ideas.
Yeah, hold on. I have so many.
Put this man on the mountain.
Oof. Yeah, let's not dissect that any further because it's just going to end in tears. But appropriate cliffhanger for our next episode: everybody in the mall loses their fucking mind.
Nobody behaves the way I think anybody would. I don't think anybody would behave the way they did in this film.
What I got from it, again, longtime listeners would be aware. I'm a big fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The scene where they're prepping for the hurricane and the car comes crashing through the front of the hardware store and Frank just shouts, "Loot!" That's what happens immediately after the rapture.
All the kids are gone. Steal the flat screens.
Steal fucking everything. People lose.
And people are running out of the mall and they're like, "I'm stealing this. I need to steal this. I need to steal this."
It's so crazy. But that is the chaos we're gonna come back to.
Well, yeah, all the good people are gone and all the cops are gone because, as we know, all cops are beautiful.
All cops go to heaven.
Whack, yeah. you got me with that with the air marshals. Like, as we know, all cops go to heaven. It did not even occur to me watching it. I was like, son of a bitch. That's very so first fucking thing. Right. It's very first thing right.
I thought of. Like, of course, the air marshal got. So what we're meant to understand is that pilots are shiftless and have no roots and can't be trusted. Air marshals, the men who enter planes with guns on them, those guys are chill. Those guys are like fine.
They have to be. The vetting process must be absurd.
I bet it's not actually.
No, I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, for them, it's just that meme of Peter Griffin with the 6 shades of skin color.
Yeah, I mean, even worse than that too. I mean, it's like, first of all, how many air marshals are there? How many fucking crazy shit has happened on TikTok on airplanes where people start acting a fool on an airplane? No air marshal stepped up. How many fucking flight attendants have stapled somebody to a chair so they don't freak out? Like,
yeah, and
there's no air marshals in real life.
Only be on so many flights. You know what I mean? He's got to work out.
Well, God, that is the one thing I miss are those TikToks during the pandemic. People getting duct taped to chairs.
Oh, those are still seems happening, to say that there are about 3,000 air marshals. That's not covering every flight.
That's not nearly
3,000 air marshals
in the U.S.
There's more platinum selling lead singers in the United States.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, no, that's good. That's a good place to cut. We're going to come back to pure chaos and this movie going completely off the rails. In the meantime, if you're starved for our content, you can find us on X, Twitter, for as long as that's lasting. I don't know. I feel like we're watching it die a slow death. The bots are
it's 7:20 on February 22nd. I think we've got until midnight at least for people to check out that website.
But yeah, you can find us at cagefight_pod. We have a Patreon, I'm told. Rich, where is that again?
Patreon.com/NickCageFight. Oh my God, I just fucked up the pitch so bad. Just listen, go and give us money.
There you go.
Yeah, just give us money. We give you nothing.
And thank you, Whack, for joining us for this episode and for the next episode. And
so happy I could be here.
Jesus Camp. Very happy to have you. If you want to plug your stuff, you're doing cool stuff with movie trivia. Let the people know how to
so I host a live trivia once a month. It's currently monthly. I'm hoping to do it more often at Starbolt in Fishtown in Philadelphia. It's on 1936 North Front Street. It's a nice place. Last night I did movie trivia. Next month I am doing 2000s trivia. I've posted the poster on my Twitter account, but you guys can check that out. Also, I have a YouTube channel, Whack Nicholson on YouTube, and I have a new video that I've been working extremely hard on. It's a video essay about a fascist philosopher. I read a book by a fascist philosopher named Julius Evola, and I will be discussing his book Revolt Against the Modern World, because right now, if you go onto YouTube and you look up Julius Evola Revolt Against the Modern World, it is all Roman statue avatar guys.
Oh, no.
So yeah, love that for everyone on YouTube.
So I will be actually critiquing the book instead of talking about the telluric majesty of the feminine form and the celestial dictums of the masculine form. And if that made any sense to you, find help because I need it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I got to check that out when that drops, because it sounds like that space is...
Oh, she's coming. I've been working on it. It's going to come out. I'm going to make a TikTok too. This is my future plugs. I'm going to make a TikTok and I'm going to start beef with the other Evola YouTubers because those guys. I've watched a lot of their content too, and those guys are fucking freaks. So look forward.
Yeah.
Look forward to me starting beef with maniacs.
I'm a fan.
I'm champing
All right.
at the bit for it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, listeners, as always, for tuning in. Please remember, we appreciate you.